My name is Anique Ruiz. I'm the SEM-Inspire Project Manager at the University of Wisconsin-Milwaukee. And shout out to all of my WisCamp SEM-Inspire students who are on the call today. I have to shout them out. All right, Evan, I hear you. I hear you. My partner in crime is going to introduce himself.
How you guys doing? This is Brian Thomas. I am your professional development mentor. As those that got a chance to meet me last week, been with LSMRCE for the last 6 years and excited for this opportunity to help you guys with time management tonight. I won't say I'm not coming to you as a person that was always great with it, a lot better now than I was. So hopefully tonight we were able to help you because of some of the things we've learned. And that comes with a little bumps and bruises. So hopefully a little pain that we've gone through can help you guys out tonight. I will say just a few housekeeping items today. If you are not speaking, please put your phone on mute if you are not speaking. And then I do think we do have the ability to do a mute all if need be. But the other thing is, on the other side of mute is we do want to hear your voices tonight. So if you would like to share your thoughts, there'll be different times where we do specifically ask for feedback. Please take your phone off mute for those. Also, you can use the raise your hand feature. But then also, if there's just a moment where you feel like you want to raise your hand and say something, at any time, please do so. This is about making sure that you get what you need out of this lesson tonight. So I'm really excited. The raise your hand feature should be on your screen. I think we did a really good job last week for those that used it. And then, like I said, mute and unmute. Other than that, let's just bring some positive energy as much as we possibly can. And let's get to it, Dr. Ruiz. All right, so we'll kind of get started here with a little bit of interaction. So in the chat feature, what I would like to see is a little bit of feedback from you on what key activities do you feel you need more time for. So we'll start with the first one, which is more time for. What are some things that you wish you had more time for? If I only had more time for this, working out, studying, self-care. I vote for that one. I like that one. Everything. That's a wonderful answer. Everything. We got another working out. I'm going to write a few of these down. I love the everything. Oh, learning a new language, Japanese. Tennis workout. So can I get somebody that would just like to share? Just take your phone off mute and share about this key activity that you need more time for. Why do you feel like you need more time for it?
Is it okay if I go?
Absolutely. Is that Mr. Evan?
Yep, this is Evan.
Come on in, Evan.
All right. One thing I feel like I could use more time for is ironically managing time.
Okay.
I feel like I need a schedule in order to function, which is something I learned during this whole COVID-19 pandemic. But I also know I can be managing my time more efficiently.
So you're saying, if I'm hearing you correctly, if I had a little time to manage the time, I would do better with the time.
It's ironic, yes.
But let's say, and I will add to that, you're absolutely correct. Sometimes you feel like you need time to manage the time. But I also will say sometimes we need the tools to manage the time. And that's what we hope tonight to help as we learn through this together. This is a collective learning, Dr. Ruiz and myself, a few things we'll share with you, but also this is a collective learning where you guys can share with each other, but hopefully we can get some tools to help with that time. So let's go the opposite direction. Let's say, what activities do you feel you waste time on? Let's see what we get in the chat feature here. I waste time on social media. Go figure. I don't know. I don't know. Somebody typed sleeping. I don't know if you can get too much sleep, right? Is that a thing? Video games, Netflix. So somebody want to share. So when I ask you to share on this one, I want you to share what activity you feel like you waste time on, and is it, and what do you feel like you can do about it?
Go,
Hello, who's speaking there?
Charles.
Hello, Charles. Come on in, man.
I feel like I gamed too much since this Corona thing started, and most of my friends play game also, so it makes me want to be with them since I have less to do. So I feel like because of my friends, I end up playing more game than I am supposed to play.
And what do you feel like you can do about that?
It's hard, especially if there's no classes to go to and no work. It makes
Okay.
it really hard.
And then maybe one more person. Share an activity that you feel like you waste time on, and what do you feel like you can do about that right now?
I I feel like I waste a lot of time on social media, and I've been trying to get better at it, but with the COVID and everything going on in the world, it's kind of hard to stay off of it.
Okay.
So to kind of get myself off of social media a little bit more, maybe put my phone in a different room for a couple hours so I'm not tempted to pick it up and go do what I do on social media. Um, it's just hard right now with everything going on in the world, but it's good to take a step back and kind of take time to yourself, do other activities.
Absolutely. I appreciate the transparency so far, and I think that's going to be helpful, especially with this topic of time management. So one of the things that we want to do is help kind of see the value in time, and realize that sometimes we have a bit more time than we think we have. So what I like to do is take a moment here, and I'm just going to play a short video, and I want you guys to bear with me here. Don't go to sleep on me. All right. So that was roughly 30 seconds. Did did that feel like just maybe a tad bit more than 30 seconds when you just kind of sit and are quiet about it?
I think time passes slower when you're aware of what's going on rather than maybe being distracted.
Yeah. So what can you do about that? So,
Use that time to focus.
and how can we create, is it almost like being aware, being in the moment? How do we get to those places? And I know, Dr. Reese, you could chime in as well. It's like, how do we get to that place where we are really seeing time for what it is instead of it's just, I don't know, it's like, it's for me, I'm hearing the word like being present. How do we be present?
Do we
Is
have
any,
any students that can respond to that? Derek?
Yeah, I feel like maybe we can try to use timers to our advantage. Sometimes if we have a timer when we're indulging in these activities like Netflix and video games, we can hold ourselves accountable to like how much time we spend in these activities. And likewise for more beneficial activities like studying or reading, we can also set timers for those as well so that we get in that necessary amount of study time in our daily schedules and don't end up feeling exhausted or, let down by ourselves at the end of the day when we don't live up to our own expectations.
Mhm.
Does anyone feel that if they use schedulers, if they use timers, if they use the tools that help them better manage their time, that it makes you feel like you're just a robot and you're not like appreciating the day? And anybody feel that way?
Definitely.
Like it's too regimented?
It's not so much I feel that, but when I have the timer on and there's not really anything pushing me, I feel like, I could just do 5 more minutes and it won't really affect me. And then 5 minutes becomes 20 minutes.
Mhm. Mhm.
20 becomes 40.
Yeah.
And then before I know it, I wasted an hour.
So we have, give me 1 second here. There are a few participants with their hands raised.
Oh, sorry.
No. I just want to make sure I acknowledge them. Let's go with Sarah. You wanted to share something about this?
Something I've found that really helped me is I have the stopwatch on my phone going, and every time I take a break, I put another lap. And then every time I go back to work, I set another lap. So that way I know how long my total day has been going, how long I've wasted time, and how long I've actually been working. Because sometimes I'll be working and I feel like I've done nothing. And then I'll look down and I'm like, oh, I've actually spent a lot of time on this.
Oh, wow.
Mhm.
And there was another hand, Nabaya.
Hi. Yes. So I think I do a little bit of, I do both from what I'm hearing. I make my to-do list and I block out certain times that I need to get certain things done, and I make sure I try to stay within that hour or whatever that duration is to complete a task. But then I also make sure I schedule time where I'm not trying to complete any type of specific task. I'm more in it's like self-care management. It's relaxing. It's reading a short story. It's logging off from all social media. It's a number of different things. So I just know for myself, I need to do both in order to be efficient, or try to be efficient, try to be proficient, try to complete tasks, and just try to move towards my goals, but also realize always pushing is not healthy for me. And so I need to take a step back and just breathe a little bit and take a walk, or so yeah.
I was going to share something, Brian, as we transition to our next slide, that I kind of hear among the group. What's healthy is, I agree, the honest dialogue about, hey, I spend a lot of time on Netflix, or I spend a lot of time on social media. I think what I'm hearing is, and you guys are so terrific at bringing this up, there is this balance, right? But a lot of things have happened with COVID-19, with you. Some of you all have had to move off of campus. Some of you are now living with family. Your situation is different. Maybe you had a contract or for an internship that was rescinded. And so all of us, in the way that we manage our times and our lives, have somewhat shifted, right? So what I want to do, as we talk about why do we struggle with time management, is also dealing with the part about not beating ourselves up, right? And so some of these things are coping mechanisms that we've used. Not being able to interact with people, gaming may be that way that you see family and friends. It may be a way that you kind of, with social media, maybe social media and things that are going on help you to feel connected to other people. And so there may be some merit to why we're doing these things. And sometimes we need that outlet, right? And so what we want to do is, if I have a paper due, right? Or if I have something that I need to get done, how do I balance that with my need for a break, for my need to take a walk, as Norbaya said, or, my need to, do something else. So I love this conversation. what I'd like to do is plunge right into this, because you guys are doing an amazing job with this, and talk about why do we struggle with time management. So you guys are going to see a poll that's going to come up, and I want you to respond. What do you think is the #1 challenge college students face with time management? Okay, so if we could all respond there.
We're off to the races.
Yes, and let's see what we come up with here. So managing too many tasks, procrastination, not setting personal goals. What do we think is #1? What do you guys see as the #1 challenge you all are facing with time management?
All right, we'll take a few more seconds here. All right, and we'll end our polling, and our results show that 76% of us have chosen procrastination. Not a surprise. But too many tasks was a whopping 21%. 3% on not setting personal goals. So I do think I'm still shocked that 21% was managing too many tasks. So what I like to do is get someone to share on that. So procrastination, we know, like, I think that's why it was #1, right? we all clearly understand it, but I think it's unique on the managing too many tasks. Does anyone like to raise their hand and give a bit of feedback on the too many tasks? I have a Diego Castro.
Yeah, I'm here. Can you guys hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I think it might have to do with prioritization too. Not knowing which task to tackle first, and then just kind of not having organization to how we go about what we have to do, and I sometimes get caught there myself, because I'll find myself doing a lot of mundane tasks and feeling good about that, when, oh, maybe I should have been spending more time on this task, knowing that it was going to take a lot longer,
I like that. Let's go with Miss Charisse Ramos.
Hi, so some of us have like jobs, or we're like peer leaders or tutors, and then we also volunteer, or we're doing internships, and then on top of classes and labs. So it's kind of a lot all at once. And like he said, prioritizing which task is most important at which time is kind of the difficult decision to make.
On that note, I wanted to bring up something, and as we transition to more of our information here, I wanted to bring up this thought, and let me know if you feel this way and if you've gone through this, which is, are you involved in some of the activities that you are because it's just genuinely who you are and what you want to do, or are you involved in some activities because you feel like you're supposed to? Do I have anybody like to I have a few hands up. I just didn't know if anybody had their hands up for that answer. I do see John took himself off mute. I didn't know if he was ready to speak up there.
Oh, sorry about that.
No problem. I'm going to call on you later for that, John.
All right.
Yeah, I agree with what you said. I think it is because we don't know how to say no sometimes. At least that's my problem. I don't want to project onto anyone else, but I just didn't know how to say no in undergrad. So I often took on a lot of different opportunities and tasks that kind of filled up my schedule from like 6 a.m. all the way down to 9 p.m. So I didn't really have much time for me. And at the end of the day, it became a disservice to myself, even though I was providing such a great service to others.
So is that Mr. Derek McFarland?
Yes, it is.
Okay. Derek, it's interesting. You said that when you were in undergrad, so you are no longer in undergrad, correct?
Yep, class of 2020, Zoom University. Here we go.
Zoom University, love it. So what I'd like for you to do, Derek, is, and as we kind of teach with each other here, is talk to the undergrads right now. So you experienced it and you didn't know when to say no. Can you just share how I guess, freeing to your time and to your emotions, I guess, as well, it is to say no when you actually commit to doing it?
it's a little bit empowering, you know. I remember because I worked as a tutor all throughout undergrad for physics, and often even outside of my normal tutoring hours, I would have students coming up to me and asking for like individual sessions, and I would always say yes because I felt bad, but I think I had to come to the realization that I needed to focus on myself and on my own goals that I had set for myself prior. So I just needed to live up to uh, my own expectations. And once I started to, gain traction on my own goals, that began to feel like really great.
You know what? You know what, Brian? Derek got a hold of our presentation before we actually delivered it. Derek, I think you were sitting in on our conversation. Why?
My bad.
No. That means that we got some experts on the call and some folks who know what they're talking about. So talking about it, what's the number one challenge college students face? You know what it is? It's exactly what you said, not setting personal goals, which, although the other two answers were terrific, and you can see them listed here. Someone mentioned prioritizing, procrastination as well, taking on too much. But number one is not setting personal goals. And I think, Derek, you were very wise in understanding that when we don't set those personal goals for ourselves, we not only commit to doing things that we may either not have time for, or we may overextend ourselves, but we also may do a disservice to the very people who need our energy and who need our help. And so I want us all to process this because because many times we just need to recenter ourselves on what we want to do, what we want to accomplish, and then align our task for the day or for the week or the month with those goals, right? So there's the list there. You guys are perfect in talking about it. So we're going to move on to the COVID-19, and Brian's going to talk to us, and we're going to hear from you guys about how this has impacted you.
Yeah, so just real briefly, guys, what we wanted to do each week is we wanted to bring the topic of COVID-19 back up just to see where there's some unique things that were going on as it pertains to the subject matter for the particular week. So for this week is time management, and we can talk about time management any time in life, right? But I did want to know just real briefly from you, were there any unique time management challenges that you guys are facing specifically due to the impact of COVID-19 for you in your personal life?
If I may, real quick, the biggest thing was the lack of structure. I got really used to having my classes at certain times, having my break at a certain time, having my study time in that break, and so on. But having it at home and not having any external indicators of, hey, this is class time now, made it really difficult to adjust.
Wow, lack of structure. That's a pretty big one. And that goes for students, professionals alike. Everybody's struggling with the structure.
I also have something to say, if I may.
Oh, John's back.
Yes. Definitely for me, during this COVID-19, just being at home, being so comfortable, I lost a sense of motivation. Because when you're on campus, you're busy nonstop, or you're walking from class or from this class to this class. You actually have some type of structure, some type of set thing that you need to do for that day. But when you're at home and everything's on your computer virtually, I lost a sense of motivation, and I really had to have some self-reflection of this is what I need to do for this day and this time, and kind of have some type of set plans so that I don't lose track of what I'm trying to do.
Okay, that makes sense.
Can I follow up on that, Brian? John, do you feel like that empowered you? Or because I heard you, it sounded like you took a turn at some point to take hold of your education and your journey, and to re-look at kind of the ways that you were handling your time and things to make some changes. Talk to me about that shift that you made in that mindset.
Yeah, it definitely took some time during COVID-19 kind of to settle in. Because at first, I was just kind of being lazy, but at a certain point, because I'm also a May 2020 grad as well. So at a certain point, I realized I had an end goal. I had something that I'm trying to accomplish, but also I need to look ahead of what I'm trying to do post undergrad. So at a certain point, I start reaching out to different programs, different internships, so that I can stay on track, so I can stay motivated to keep me pushing forward in the future.
Great.
Awesome.
Great. Well, that's the perfect segue into where we're moving to, which is the question, y'all. What's your game plan? What's your game plan? You see the graphic there with the to-do list. Some of us, maybe we're really good at writing lists down and writing down our tasks and things to do, and we can check it off. But I think all of us have been challenged in the way you all have described, and especially in light of COVID-19 with structure. So we're going to talk about what's your game plan. And Ryan, if you want to kick this off, and then we can kind of go through the list here.
Yeah, I apologize. I jumped the gun on that one. So on the what's your game plan, earlier we talked about we've shared. I mean, this is just unbelievable. The different pieces of feedback you guys have given us tonight, and some of you, we said, hey, what were some of the things we were actually wasting our time on, and what could we do about it? So now when we say what's our game plan, I just want to know from you personally, we're all impacted, like everybody is impacted in their own unique way right now with time management, and specifically time management with COVID-19. And what I'd like to hear from you is, what are you going to do about it to ensure that you don't look back on this and say, I missed out on an opportunity to maximize the time I had? Because we know that, right? We know one thing about time. It is the one thing we will never get back. So let's talk about that. I see a few hands. I see an Ethan.
Oh, that was for
Oh, that was
person. Sorry.
okay. Sorry about that, Ethan. Do I have Tiara?
Yeah. I think my game plan is waking up early. I wake up around like 6 to go running, go work out. And then after that, like, that gives me kind of like, it like wakes me up. So that way I can be able to do everything else that I already planned throughout my day.
Oh my gosh, that sounds so wonderful.
Yeah.
I like waking up early. I just don't like waking up early and running.
You are our motivation.
I have, let's go, am I saying this correctly? Lapam or Lapam?
Hi, it's Lee Camila. You're fine.
Okay.
For myself, I'm kind of the same as the last comment, is waking up early and working out, which you don't always have to work out. But I noticed that when I wake up, the last minute before I need to be somewhere or have something to done, that I feel so tired and so like less motivated. So I learned that waking up earlier, working out, and then making a list as soon as I get up really, really helped.
Okay. And have you been doing that? Is that something you developed while in school, or it's just like something you always were doing?
That's something I started doing once we kind of like came into the whole COVID thing, because I feel like I'm sure this is true for a lot of you guys, but once we like transitioned to Zoom, I really struggled to get out of bed to go sit on a Zoom call.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
like, you're at home in your real bed, your comfortable bed. This isn't the Twin XL. So
And some people don't even have Zoom.
I struggled really hard. So I had to change something, because I'm like, I can barely get out of bed. But when I was in college, everybody's doing it. So you're doing it easily.
Okay. So Dr. Ruiz, kind of take us through this.
Yeah, so some of you guys have already suggested some really great information, and I want to tie it into kind of some tips and some things about what's your game plan. So first we talk about identifying time wasters and setting goals, and we talked about that on the last slide and in our discussions about things, but planning ahead with a to-do list. We heard Tiara and Pamela talk about getting up early. If you get up ahead of time or the night before and write that to-do list, then you kind of have a game plan for the next day, right? So if you set that goal and that bar, and then let's just say I get on a Netflix binge and I'm watching TV for 3 hours, I got that list sitting in front of me that's telling me, hey, you got something to do. And so, you know, having that to-do list, tackle small tasks to start. So you got a really big paper, 15-page paper, and then you got, you know, maybe a reflection that takes half an hour. Knock out that reflection first, get that out of the way, and then save some time and energy for kind of that bigger task, okay? Only doing one thing at a time. I'm guilty of that. I don't know about y'all, but I feel like I can be a master multitasker when I'm awake. And y'all, I don't get up as early as probably most of you all, but actually doing one thing at a time helps you to keep your focus. It actually drives momentum in that thing. And so when you feel like you're spread too thin, even though I could be on this presentation, I'm also trying to manage this and manage that. And that means I'm not giving my 100% on what it is that I'm doing at the moment. And so sometimes you have to set some things aside, deal with the matter at hand, get it knocked out, give it your best effort, and then move to the next thing. Okay, and that's easier said than done. And then of course, establishing set routines, getting up in the morning, working out, making breakfast, eating well, feeding your brain, all of those things contribute to good time management. Likewise, we want to talk about, we want to go a little bit further, right? We talked about the challenges. We want to talk about tools for time management briefly. And and while we invite comments, we're going to actually talk about some actual concrete tools that may help you all on the call. Brian?
Yeah, so we'll put some of these tools on the screen if you want to elaborate on one of them, but I would like some hands to be raised and get your feedback on what are some of the tools that you feel like you're using, and it can be during COVID-19 or just good time management tools you feel like you're using in general, or it can elaborate on one of the items that we have listed up here. So I'll go with Aubrey.
Hi. So one of the things on the list is set up your virtual office, and that's kind of one of my tools, especially now with COVID. You know, I'm an undergrad and I did live on campus, so when I come home, to me that's like I'm on break. So getting out of that mindset is kind of difficult because I think I'm on a break because I'm at home. So I think setting up like a little area somewhere in your house where you have like a quiet space where you can work and focus is a big tool for me. And I get to set up my own little space because I do that at school as well. So I feel like that's a really good tool because I'm focused and I'm not distracted, and it's like I'm supposed to be at my like workspace.
Okay, thank you for that. Charles?
Yeah, before COVID and everything, I had this app called Trello, and I went to this meeting for Scrum Master, and they introduced me to the software, and it's a good app I've been using. It allows you to put in your plans for the day, and anytime you are done with it, you take it off. It's like a list, but for your phone, and has other features that reminds you you need to do this, you need to do that. So that's what I've been using.
Do you mind typing that in the chat feature so we can share with others?
Sure, I'll do that.
Oh, awesome. Let's see. Evan, did you want to share? or maybe Angelica.
Yeah. So, one of the things that I saw that I'm seeing on the list is taking time off, and I feel like that is definitely something that's very important, because at least for me, it's really hard for me to take time off because I always want to be doing something. Like, even if I'm like on social media or on like YouTube, I'm watching like science videos and stuff like that. So I never really like take the time off because I always want to do something that I guess like feeds my brain in a sense. And so COVID-19, I feel like really helps me kind of reevaluate and then help myself like actually take time off, because I really needed that, because I've been just like go 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 for so many years at this point, since high school. So I thought it was kind of nice to finally have a lot of what feels like a lot of time to kind of like map everything out and map out the time to just for like self-care.
Okay.
Brian, can I point something out?
Absolutely.
As we're talking about these different things, and I want to delve just for a minute or two into each one, I want to make this point clear to everybody. So, and I heard this quote, which is really great, that I hope it helps you guys too. So it said here, it said, time management is really a misnomer. Can you manage time? Not really. Time just ticks by. So what can you manage? The only thing you really have any control of is yourself. So you can learn to plan, prioritize, and invest your time wisely. So when we're talking about time management, what we're really talking about is taking control of ourselves, right? Because it doesn't matter what decisions I make in the day, 24 hours is 24 hours every day. The sun is going to come up, the sun is going to come down. So we are really not able to manage time, but we can manage ourselves, right? And this list shows us some of the ways that we can manage ourselves and cut ourselves some slack too, right? Because times have changed. There's a lot of things going on. So I want to point out a couple of these. So I heard about setting up your virtual office, which I think is fantastic. And thanks so much for sharing that. Make sure that, you know, and so for some of us, this may be easier than others because, you know, having to stay at home and work from home is very different than working in your college dorm, than working in an office where you have a dedicated space. You may have people tapping on your door, your mom asking you to take out the trash. You may have kids who are tugging on you and saying, Mommy, Daddy, I'm hungry, I want a snack. So there's all these things going on in that home space that may not have existed. And I think someone definitely touched on that. And so trying to carve out a space may be easier for some than others, but do the best you can, okay? Learn to delegate. That's one thing I want to point out as we move to our next slide quickly. Learning how to delegate is very important and is a form, quality of leadership, right? So if I don't get this, let's just say I have a project, but I also have various responsibilities in the house. How do I communicate with the people that I love and care about, or my friends, and say, hey, look, I know that we said we would be on the Xbox at this time, or I know I said that I would join the family for dinner, but I know that in managing my time, I have this and that going on. Is it possible, brother, that you take out the trash for me today and I'll take out the trash tomorrow so I can commit to this goal? Or maybe there's a way to communicate, and communication is important in time management, to make sure that you're not taking on everything and that you're not using the resources that you have close by you and in your network to be able to provide you with support when you need it. Because sometimes all of us are just under deadline. All of us have a lot of stuff to do. But at the end of the day, you can get more rest. You can get more things done when you also use your network. So Brian is going to talk about about a different network, right? I'm talking about interpersonal networks, but he's going to talk about the tech network and see how that can help us with time management.
Yeah, so we actually have a poll that should be popping up on your screen. I would like for you guys to give us feedback on this, and it says, what tools do you use to manage your time? Check all that apply. Let's see. It's a good race going on here, back and forth.
Looks like a horse race, doesn't it?
Cell phone's trying its best to catch up.
Boy, the greyhounds are out.
All right, great feedback so far, guys.
You know what, one of my options, which I didn't know that would get the #1, but it looks like it's leading as a planner. I don't know which of you guys are selecting planner, but you have my heart. I still have my paper planner, so. All right, Brian.
All right.
Did I beat you with the planner?
So planner, I mean, cell phone made a dash to the finish, but we had 77% said you use a planner. We did have 69% said we still use the cell phone, which is probably going to overtake the planner one day.
Yeah.
36% on the computer and 18 other. So what I'd like to ask someone, if you can raise your hand and share with us, is what are some of the ways in which you're using your planner that may be something different than the norm? And then also from a cell phone standpoint, are there any particular apps that you're using to help with time management? So I see Chanel, were you on the planner answer?
Hi, can you guys hear me?
Absolutely.
Okay, yes, I definitely was responding to that with the planner. Something that I found really helpful for me, since I'm a visual learner, so I make certain subjects a certain color with just writing that task in, the box for the day, but also I keep that same color as kind of like a key for reminding myself of the tasks that I have to do. So I have sticky notes that same color, and I'll put them around my room. I have my own apartment, so I can put them really anywhere that is in my eye of sight. And just seeing that color just reminds me that, oh, I have, this subject. I need to pay more attention to that.
Oh, wow. That's I like the Post-it note and the color code system. I used to be a person that I would have Post-it notes all over my apartment too, so I love it. Any other feedback on the planner, like just the planner itself? Are there any unique things you're doing to help yourself?
One thing I'm doing is I'm not really using. Well, I do use a planner, but it's on my phone. But I have a timer on.
So your cell phone planner has a timer.
Yeah, so I use my cell phone as a timer from this period to this period. I'll work on something. When the timer goes off, I'm done with what I'm doing.
Okay. So between the cell phone and the computer, would anybody like to share about apps or how the cell phone or the computer is helping you with time management? Let's go with Brianna.
Yes, correct. So I actually use an app called Todoist. So it's where you can organize different tasks in the groups that they are needed to do, but I actually don't use it's on my phone, but I don't use my phone for time management. I prefer my computer. Google Calendars has saved my life because I used to use my planner, but then I would go to class and forget my planner at home. So with Google Calendar, I can have it wherever I'm at.
Yeah, I'm aging or dating myself. I'm not much older than you guys, I don't think, but wow, like a calendar on your cell phone would have been, that's like a miracle when I was in school. Like technology changed so fast. Like I got a cell phone when I was in college, the first time ever, and Facebook came out when I was in college as well. It was, you can only talk to college students with it at that time. But wow, I think the Google Calendar, I love Google Calendar right now. So I can only imagine how powerful it is in college. Would anybody else like to share how they're using their cell phone or computer? I do have, let's see, Charles or Aubrey. I didn't know, Charles, if you just forgot to take your hand down or not there. And okay, Aubrey.
So I use my phone a lot as a planner because my phone is always on me and I'm very guilty of that, but I try to use it for good too instead of just going on social media. I know I will check in throughout the day of all my tasks and kind of just write them in my notes instead of using an app, but an app would probably be really useful. But I just take my notes and I write down all the important stuff that I'm supposed to do. And then sometimes I'll use my computer, especially when I'm in class because phones are kind of frowned upon in class. So that's a good way to like organize things too.
Okay.
Can I chime in on that, Brian, for a second? Because that was very insightful. You mentioned, was that Aubrey?
Yep,
yes.
Aubrey.
Okay, Aubrey, you mentioned about when you were talking, what came to my mind, and Brian and I were discussing this and Deb earlier about dictation, and I had confessed that I didn't know anything about dictation. I thought it was for older people who like couldn't remember things, and like so they like to listen to themselves talk and record themselves. I didn't know, but when but throughout my career, I was able to get exposed to people who, as part of the profession that I chose, actually use dictation to build time. So I was trained, and back then we had the old tape recorders, okay, y'all? So I don't want y'all going out buying no tape recorders with the little tapes you put inside. But if you look, if most of you guys have Office 365 suite, if you look and you open up your Outlook or you open up your Word, you'll see on the toolbar this little microphone that says dictate. And if you scroll down, you can actually see different languages in which you can dictate. And so I want to encourage you guys, whether that's on your computer, literally you press the button, you talk into your computer if you have a microphone, or you put your headphones in, and you can dictate a whole paper. And it works that way on your computer now. It also works that way on your phone. And so if you have to send out a message, if you have an iPhone, if you're an iPhone user like me, we have Task on iPhone. Some of you all may find that helpful. We also have, or not Task, Reminders. We have the Reminders app as well as the Notes app. But you can use dictation in just about any type of platform. And so I do want to encourage you guys, because you came up with some smart things. It can be a time saver as well to dictate. But the other thing before we move off of here, I was sharing too, was about the Pomodoro technique. And I don't know, has anybody on the call ever heard of that?
Yes.
If you do, if you have, you can take yourself off of mute.
I use it's called the Focus Timer app on the iPhone App Store, or Focus Keeper, and it uses a Pomodoro.
And can you explain, Sarah, about the Pomodoro technique, how it works?
So basically you have, you work in 45-minute intervals with 5-minute breaks in between. And then after 4 of those rounds, you get a 30-minute break, and you shoot for 12 total rounds in a day for optimal focus time, because you can only have your brain working straight and fully focused for so long.
And do you feel like it's helped you at all to stay focused and manage your time better? Would you recommend it?
I would, when I remember to turn it on.
That's awesome feedback. That's awesome.
Yes.
Now you need an alarm to remind you.
I
to
actually
turn
have an
it on.
alarm to remind me, and it's a I use the app Do, which has persistent notifications, so it'll, send a notification and then 5 minutes later another notification. So I can snooze it, but it'll never go away until I actually do it.
Yeah, yeah. So that's great. So thank you, Sarah, for sharing. So the Pomodoro technique was actually named after those little tomato timers that you have in your kitchen. They actually named it after that. But it's another way. So Sarah's way, my way, Brian's may not be your way, right? And there are so many different time management tech tools, and we'd love for you guys in the chat to actually share. If you didn't get to share out what those tools are that you use, we'd like to share those with everybody. But we have some resources here, and these are links. So I encourage you all to actually download the presentation after this, and you'll get a link to where the recording is and where the PowerPoint is. Click on each of these links because they're extremely helpful. So how to set SMART goals. Some of us on the call may know what SMART goals are, but some may not. And I'm not going to give away the secret, y'all. So that's my tool to encourage you to actually click on the site. The McGraw Center Principles for Effective Time Management, one of the ones that I want to point you guys to is the 26 time management tricks I wish I'd known at 20, which is actually really great because for us visual learners, it actually has different quotes and different types of learning styles. And basically, there's a gentleman who's writing, hey, this is what I wish I would have known when I was younger. And I think that's something too that you all can learn from. So please use the resources here, but also post in the chat because we want to learn from you. We want to know what works well for you guys. But use these resources. Go ahead, Brian.
I was just going to say, for those that if you wanted to get a jump start on the links, Deb has put each link in the chat feature. So please feel free to click on those, save those if you like. As Dr. Ruiz said, they will be a part of the presentation, but here are the links available to you as well.
Yes, thank you so much, Deb. And now we'll actually talk about our key takeaways here. So, Brian?
Yeah, so just real briefly, guys, we want to just go through a few key takeaways, and then we want to hear from you. So one that we talked a lot about was setting up the virtual office. We know that's not easy. Each person's home life is a different dynamic, but that is a very critical one. Don't procrastinate. Create a to-do list. I think there are some different technology resources that we brought up today. A lot of you guys brought up ones that you're using and share with the group. Learning to say no seems to be a big one. One thing that I really had on my heart when we were talking the other day with Dr. Ruiz and Deb was the words fear of missing out. I remember being a college student and just you felt like there was going to be this fear if you missed out on on something when you said no. So on that fear of missing out, is anybody struggle with the fear of missing out? Are you kind of like, I know I want to do better with it, but I'm not really crossing that bridge? Raise your hand if you just want to share on that fear of missing out. I'll have a Sharice and a Farouk.
Yeah, sometimes I feel like I might miss an opportunity if I say no, let that person down. So I'm still working on trying to figure out how to say no without hurting the other person's feelings, because sometimes they're just trying to give me advice and say maybe you should apply to this or apply to that, or maybe you should look into this or research that, and it's kind of a lot all at once, and I just don't know how to kind of voice how I feel like I really want my goals to be. I don't know if I'm making sense, but
No, I think you're facing a unique challenge there where it's not just, someone's inviting you to a party type of say no. You're saying, you're giving me some advice. You care for me. Like, you're trying to help me, but at the same time, does the help require me to do extra work? And do I know if I do this work, will it net a certain result? And so that's a very that's a tough one. I'm gonna pass that one to Dr. Ruiz, and because I know she's working directly with so many students every day. You know, Dr. Ruiz, how do you think students should go about that? Because I know you're probably on the end of giving that advice or giving those tips.
You know what? You know, to be honest with you, I would say to all of you that that doesn't necessarily get easier as you move into your profession, as you get older, as you climb the ladder, so to speak, because you're tapped on for different expertise, right? So, and a lot of us want to give that time. We want to be of help, but there's some times where we have to establish limits. I don't want you to feel like if you establish a limit, that that's unfair to the other person. So language that you can perhaps use is, you know, and people ask me all the time, Anik, can you sit on this board? Can you? And I may say, you know what? Let me think about that. I think it's a great opportunity. I'm not sure if I can do it right now, but maybe later. So you don't have to necessarily do a flat out no. You can say, you know what, let me think about that. Let me consider the other things I have on my plate. I would love to do it, but I want to make sure that I can commit the time to you to do it because you're valuable to me. So I'm going to consider the opportunity. And can I get 48 hours or can I get a week to respond back to you? That gives you some space and some flexibility to address your schedule and your needs. And then the other person can agree and they can either tell you, no, I need an answer right now, or yes, I can wait maybe for a week, that's no problem. And it takes the stress off of you to be in the moment and to say yes to everything. So I would encourage you, take a step back before you commit, because if you do commit to too many things because you're afraid to say no, and later you drop the ball, you've hurt the other person or the project that you're on, and you may have also then hurt your own reputation. So that's something that I use. It's not perfect. It's not fail safe. Sometimes I feel like I still feel overcommitted, but it helps me to maintain balance. And I want you guys, it's so not no, but maybe later, maybe. So use the maybe, remember that. And going into that, as we wrap up now and close out our call, there are reflection questions here. I'm not going to elaborate on this, but we want you guys to go to the Google Classroom site. For my students, these questions are on Canvas, and we want you to respond. We want you to reflect on your experience, reflect on time management, and kind of develop some introspection. So when you walk away, we don't just want you to walk away hearing some really good stuff. I actually want you to do the heart work that you need, the self-work, to walk away from this being more focused on how you structure and manage your time and how you feel good about it. Okay, so these questions will be posted there. And then we're going to talk about, we're just going to proceed with the presentation. Brian, we see Brian's beautiful face on this slide, and so we'll let Brian close it out here.
So I just wanted to share my contact information. If anyone would like to follow me on any of the social media platforms, I like to use LinkedIn and Instagram more than anything. But please stay in contact with me. You may have questions, you may have thoughts, you may just want to follow the content. Please do so. We're here to support you and help you in any way that we can. I did want to ask Farouk. Farouk, you had you wanted to share a bit of feedback there.
Hello, can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Now, is that Farouk or Kayon?
Yes, Farouk.
That's Farouk. Okay.
Yeah.
I remember you from last week, Farouk.
Yeah. as for me, when someone invites me to a party or when someone invites me to hang out, I don't think about it. I just say yes because I fear that if I say no, I'm gonna create some type of tension between me and the other party. Um, so like what Miss Anik said that that's what I'm working on currently right now. Instead of saying yes, instead of also saying no, I gotta think about it, see how it's gonna affect me in the long run. Like, is it worth it? Is it worth my time, energy? And like, is it suitable for my interests? That's what I'm currently working on without saying, oh yes, let's go. Or without, like saying, oh no, I can't. So yeah, I really appreciate Miss Anik's comment because that just like reinforced on what I'm working on right now.
I used to tell my friends, I would say maybe next time, and maybe next time was like never. One time they realized, like, Brian, are you ever coming with us? I was like, then I just was like, you know what, I'm not coming. But maybe next time did work.
And Brian, you're exactly right. And I know we're on time, but here's the thing. We led the de-stress and motivate session last week. We're leading time management. At the end of the day, we do the best we can. We have people in our lives that we love. We have things that we want to do. And all of these things are a confluence of different factors that make us feel like we're like tug of war between things. And so, but the maybe puts some space between you and whatever is being asked of you. So don't feel like you can't put that space in, and then deal with what's in your own heart. So Brian talked about this so well. Are you doing what you want to do? Are you doing what you're expected to do? Maybe what other people want you to do. And that's a heart check. That's a self-esteem check. So make sure that you feel validated enough in yourself and that you use that powerful voice that you have to be able to give an assertive no if you need to, or just create an alternative. Hey, I can't catch up with y'all, but maybe next week. And then hopefully you'll actually be able to catch up with them next week and it won't be the following week. But yeah.
Okay. One of the things I wanted to share, guys, and I'll take one quick step back, is I do want to give recognition to our collaborators. We have many people who are collaborating with us, and just wanted to recognize them. And we'll continue this series. This is a 10-week series. Next week we're going to be talking about branding yourself. So if anybody wanted to learn more about branding, if you feel like these first 2 weeks have been a good learning experience and just a good networking experience, please come join us with branding yourself next week. And I challenge you, just like I challenged you last week, invite a friend. Tell a couple friends, hey guys, this is not a bad thing. They're not boring people and putting us to sleep on these Wednesday nights. We're actually halfway decent, I hope. So please come join us next week, and then we'll have 8 more weeks after this week.
Yes. And the time, notice the time. So every session from now until the end of July is going to be every Wednesday at 6 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Central Standard Time. So it'll be a new time, but same day, Wednesday night. So please join us. And if you can't join us live, again, I mentioned those recordings. You can always go back and see prior recordings, and Deb has posted that already. So.
All right, so we're really excited about the branding yourself that's coming next week. So we definitely want to hear your voices, and we want to see you out there. Before we close out, I'd like to get 1 or 2 students just to give us, excuse me, a bit of feedback on our session tonight, and if there's anything you picked up, and if these first 2 weeks of these sessions have been encouraging for you. Chanel.
Hi, hello. Just wanted
Hello.
to say the polls, the interactive polls were really engaging and I actually enjoyed them. It was a nice way to see and kind of like read the room without, well, you know, the virtual room. But I really liked that idea. So thank you.
Thank you for that feedback, and I really do. I really like them, and then we can talk to them and see it live how the feedback is coming in. So it is a great, wonderful feature. Anyone else just like to share a little bit of feedback before we head out? All right, last one, Mr. Farouk.
I really find these webinars very helpful because like it makes me think, because without these I'm not gonna be doing anything. When I join these webinars, like we talk about, you know, different stuff, and it makes me think like, oh, like I could improve on my, you know, time management skill. Oh, I can do this, I can do that, you know, rather than wasting my time in summer, not like, you know, doing any educational stuff. So like this serves as a summer class for me, which I find it very helpful, if that makes sense.
Awesome. Oh, no, I think that was the premise, I believe, was almost a summer educational series. We call it the summer speaking series, Connect, Share, and Grow, but I think the premise is a summer educational series. So I really think, I think that feedback hits really home with the people who created this. So I thank them for coming up with a wonderful idea for you guys. With that said, I'll hand it over to Dr. Ruiz to close us out tonight.
So I first want to thank my co-presenter, Brian. I know y'all, some of my WisCam students are on here. You hear me talk all the time, but this gentleman is a guru in what he does, and I am so grateful and appreciative of all of his expertise and his time in co-hosting this with me. And have to shout out Deb because she's the backbone of what we do as a region and was so spearheading this movement. So thank you, Deb. We just want to thank you guys for your candor, for your openness. At the end of the day, you may not be perfect in terms of managing your time, but who is? Try to stick to maybe one facet or area of your life to improve. Don't try to overhaul everything. Incorporate maybe one small thing, one easy win that you can do. Maybe it's okay, I get up an hour early and I write my to-do list, or maybe I'll work out, if the gyms are open, or I'll go running outside with my face mask on, right? So do the small things. Don't try to bite off a lot. And then make those incremental changes one step at a time, and know that we're all doing our best. This too shall pass, right? So we got a lot of stuff going on, but at the end of the day, we support you. We're here for you. Lean on your program coordinators in your state and your various LSAM programs, your mentors, your teachers, your parents, your siblings. You have a family, you have a village, use it. And we're all cheering you on. So have a lovely rest of the evening. We'll see you back next week, Wednesday.
Thank you.
Take care,
Thank
everyone.
you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank
Take
you.
care.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Have a good week.
Take
Yes.
care.
Bye.
Appreciate